Is the Samsung Galaxy A02 worth buying in 2022? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A02. Now the A02 was launched in 2021, so at this point the phone is essentially a year old. But the real question is it worth getting? And how's it held up since it was launched? Now, to avoid some confusion, the Galaxy A02 was never actually officially sold in the US, unlike its A02s counterpart. So the Galaxy A02s and the A02 are completely different phones. In fact, there's really nothing that they even share in common, despite both being very low-end devices. But I will be doing a similar video to this one exclusively about the A02s. So definitely watch that if you're interested. So as I mentioned a second ago, the Galaxy A02 was sold all throughout the world except for the US. Now this device does feature a 6.5-inch display, so despite it being a lower end phone, in fact at the time that the device was launched, it actually was the lowest end device offered by Samsung, period. But despite that, we are getting a very large display with it. So at this point, it seems like it doesn't matter whether you're going for a lower end phone or a higher end device, you're going to be getting a large display no matter what. Now, for those of you who actually prefer to have a phone with a smaller display, well, unfortunately, that is becoming less and less common to come across. Now, that being said, though, despite this display being very large, it is still only 720p. Now, at least it is PLS IPS LCD, and the PPI isn't too bad at 270, but in general, I don't think this display really stands out too much from any other device I've used. That being said, though, the display does still look pretty decent. It is at least crisp enough and clear enough that you can pretty much do anything on the device, and you're not going to really run into any issues. But on the other hand, compared to many other phones that Samsung offers, you're going to be finding much better displays with those phones. Now, the aspect ratio of this display is 20:9, so it does feature a more narrow but taller form factor, pretty consistent with many modern phones that have been launched both this year, last year, and really the year prior. And we're getting an 81.9% screen to body ratio. So there's decently small bezels all throughout, but we do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel here. And then of course we do have a water drop notch for the front facing camera. Now speaking of that, the front facing camera is 5 megapixels. And a little bit later on in the video, I will be showing you how things do look through that front facing camera. Now this device is being offered in multiple storage configurations. You can get it in either 32 or 64 gigabytes. Now, if you get the phone with 32 gigs, then it does come with 2 gigs of RAM. And then if you get the phone with 64 gigs of internal storage, you get 3 gigabytes of RAM. So kind of interesting there. Obviously, if you can, definitely go for the extra storage and extra RAM, because especially with a phone like this, that is going to be coming in handy. Now, this phone does not feature wireless charging, which is a bit unfortunate. But then again, to be expected for a phone that's as affordable as this one is. Now, another disappointment with the Samsung Galaxy A02 is that there's really no device security minus putting in a PIN code to access the phone. So what I mean by that is that there's no face unlock and there's also no fingerprint sensor here with the device. So if you don't mind putting in your PIN code constantly, then I suppose this phone will be fine for you. But if you do at least like to have either face unlock or a fingerprint sensor, then you're definitely going to want to look into a different device. Now, I already talked a little bit about the front-facing camera here in the phone, which again is 5 megapixels. And then on the back of the device, we do have a dual camera setup. So we're getting a 13 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. Now let's pull up the camera app and see how things look. So the camera app definitely has kind of a bare bones setup, considering that the actual device itself doesn't have really that many cameras or, different features like portrait mode. So just to confirm, there is no portrait mode here with the phone. So if you do want to get nice blurred out backgrounds that I know that many people are into nowadays, and especially more than ever, then just know that you're not getting that here with the Galaxy A02. Now here's how things look through the standard camera. And again, overall, quality isn't too bad. Of course, nothing special at all. But if you do want a phone that can at least take photos that are slightly usable, good enough to put on social media, good enough to maybe send to a friend or family member, but the quality definitely is not good enough if you want to use this phone for professional purposes, like maybe you're a realtor, for example, and you want to take some pictures of the house, I definitely would not use this device for that, just because the quality really isn't going to be that great. Now then from here, we can go over to the macro camera, which allows us to get very close up here, while being able to capture some pretty decent detail here. Then we can go over to video, and then from here, we can adjust a few things. So we can adjust between 1080p and 720p, but that's pretty much the only two options there. And then with both, we do have a maximum of 30 frames per second. But just the fact that this phone can record videos at 1080p, despite being such a low-end phone, certainly is at least decently impressive. And definitely there's no way that this phone would be able to handle 4K video recording, nor would I expect it to. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A02, like I mentioned earlier, there are multiple configurations of this phone available, so you can get it in either 2 or 3 gigabytes. And then the processor that we're getting here with the phone is the MediaTek MT6739W processor. It's definitely not a good processor. It's a very slow processor actually, and you'll notice that when using the phone. Of course, you will be able to navigate around the device at least decently smoothly, but if you do anything beyond that, like going on social media or browsing the web, you are going to be noticing quite a bit of lag and other slowdowns. Now, if you want to use this phone for just phone calls, text messaging, and then very, very occasional web browsing, then I suppose it will be fine for you. But if you are someone that does want to actually use your phone for a decent amount of things beyond just the basics, then I definitely think you will be disappointed with it. And you should go for something that offers better specifications, more performance, and more power. Now with the Galaxy A02, we're getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery. Definitely one of the strong points here with the phone, in the sense that that's a very large battery, so expect to get decent battery life here with the phone. Another cool thing about the Galaxy A02 is that the phone actually originally came with Android 10 with One UI 2.0, but since then the phone has been updated to Android 11 with One UI 3. So it is very cool to see that the A02 is at least getting some updates since being launched, and especially going from Android 10 to Android 11 is especially impressive, because most other brands, when they launch a very low-end phone like this one, pretty much never provide any software updates at all. But now that we've gone over the various highlights of the Galaxy A02, let's take a closer look at the hardware here. Now I already talked quite a bit about the front panel. Of course, we do have that water drop notch up top, and then the thicker bottom bezel, but in general, we are getting a large display here that does look decent for what it is. Now on the left side of the device, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the bottom of the phone, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, micro USB port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. So it definitely is very disappointing that we do have micro USB here with the device. I'm definitely not a fan of using micro USB, and especially at this point. It's pretty obsolete technology in general. Pretty much all my charging cables nowadays are either USB-C or Lightning when I want to charge Apple devices. But micro USB really is outdated, and I would really like to not see any other phones with this port in the future. And then taking a look at the right side of the device, we have the power button, volume down and volume up, and then up top here, nothing. And then on the back of the phone, we have that dual camera setup, flash, and the Samsung logo. Now, actually, this material on the back of the phone is something that I do like quite a bit, and I have not seen really with any other Samsung devices out there. But essentially, it's like this hard plastic with a little bit of waviness to it, and I like this texture on the back of the phone. Definitely pretty unique and different. Again, I've not seen this from Samsung, or really any other brand for that matter. So I definitely like this material. I wouldn't really call it premium or anything like that, but then again, it does feel decently durable, and if they are using this material because it's saving them money, then I definitely think it's actually a pretty decent move for them to make, because again, in general, I think it looks really cool, it looks unique, and I really have no complaints about it. And I also like that it doesn't pick up any fingerprints. Now here is the box that the Galaxy A02 does come in. You can see right on the side, Galaxy. Let's open this up and see what we get included. Now the first thing that we do have here is this packet, and in the packet we have a quick start guide and warranty card. Then we also have a micro USB cable for charging and data transfer. We have a SIM card removal tool, and we have a USB wall adapter. So nice that we do at least get a charger here included in the box. So in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A02 worth it in 2022? Honestly, in general, I would try to avoid getting this phone. Not because this actual model from Samsung is inherently bad, but at the same time, it really doesn't bring anything to the table that you couldn't find from pretty much any smartphone that's launched in the last 4 or 5 years. Like for example, if you're gonna deal with a phone that has micro USB, then you're better off just getting an older Android device instead of getting one that's brand new like this. Or even if you were to get the A02 used, there are probably way better phones that you could get for the same price. So unless you're literally getting this phone for like $10, I really can't imagine that it's worth getting. But I'm really curious to know what you think. Definitely let me know in the comment section below. But this is Kevin here. This is the Samsung Galaxy A02 in 2022, and I will see you in the next video.